Today we're gonna be looking at some more of MIDA hole posts, and immediately we're in for a treat because this person asks, am I the a-hole for telling a doctor to shut up on a turbulent flight? I was on a flight from Atlanta to LAX last night, packed flight, everyone just trying to get some sleep. About 2 hours in, the lights come on and an announcement crackles through the intercom. Turbulence ahead, fasten seatbelts, pretty standard stuff. Then all hell breaks loose. This woman, maybe late 40s, impeccably dressed, starts freaking out, screaming about air pockets, demanding to speak to the pilot, the whole 9 yards. Flight attendant tries to calm her down, explains it's standard procedure, turbulence is normal. Nope, not having it. This lady, who we'll name Jane, throws a fit. Not the screeching on a chalkboard kind, but the cold, steely fury. She accuses the flight attendant of lying, of putting everyone in danger, and demands to be deplaned immediately. Flight attendant says that that's not possible mid-flight. And Jane launches into this whole spiel about how she's a doctor, pulls out an ID to prove it, and if something happens, it's on the airline. The rest of the plane is awake, people are grumbling, some looking scared, a baby starts crying, flying attendant is trying to reason with Jane, but it's like talking to a brick wall. Finally, I just lose it. I yell out, probably a little too loudly, "Look lady, we all get turbulence, it's not a 5-star resort, but it's safe. Sit down and shut up before you get yourself arrested." Everyone stares at me. Jane spins around, eyes blazing, and starts in on me about disrespecting a medical professional. I fire back that a real doctor wouldn't be causing a scene and freaking everyone out. The flight attendant dives in, trying to mediate, but the damage is done. We hit some turbulence, not terrible, but enough to jostle the plane. Jane freaks again, and some people start getting panicky. I feel awful, maybe I made things worse? The flight attendant gives me a look that could curdle milk, but then steers Jane away to talk to her privately. By the time we land, things are calmer, but the tension is thick. Jane gives me a withering look as she disembarks, and a few people mutter thanks under the breath. So, am I the a-hole? Did I just escalate a bad situation, or was I right to shut down a meltdown that was putting other passengers on the edge? I'm honestly not sure. So let's break this down a little bit here. Obviously, this person that the OP called Jane was freaking out on the flight and making everybody uncomfortable, like throwing tantrums and stuff. It's not a pleasant situation to be in, to be honest, for everyone involved. As the OP mentioned here somewhere, like she was making other passengers uncomfortable as well and a bit, panicky and stuff. So I think this was kind of the right thing to do. I mean, you get some entitled people like out in public that think that they can just put everyone around by like showing their qualification, like saying they're a doctor or stuff like that. If I was in that situation, like if I was on that plane with the OP and the other person, that would be really satisfying, like for the OP to just stand up and call her like what she was at that moment. So I think the OP is not the asshole. They brought everyone relief on this plane, even though like they got some weird looks. I guess it was still for the benefit of everybody. Basically, it's good to be the person that stands up to this kind of bullshit, and I think the OP was not the asshole. Let's see what the public has to say. Oh, this person says you're the a-hole, but unknowingly. The crew are trained to handle these sorts of situations, and you, in your frustration, escalated it. I fly a lot. I'm also a very big guy who looks like he can handle himself. There's a kind of an unwritten rule that if there's an aggressive passenger, I sit the F down, but pay attention. Don't jump in, don't risk making things worse in an attempt to fix the issue. Sit down, shut up, and if the crew need help, they'll ask. Imagine going to the supermarket and you see someone with a pallet stocking shelves. You don't just start grabbing stuff and putting it on shelves saying, I'm just trying to help. Let the professionals handle it. Yeah, that's a good take. That's a good take, to be honest. The flight attendant, the crew member, was clearly dissatisfied with the OP's behavior. So I think this is a valid take. Like, don't make the workers' lives harder than they need to be. So I think I agree with this take at the end of the day. Am I the a-hole for telling a stranger maybe you could have the decency to mind your own damn business? I'm a 23-year-old woman. The other 2 women involved were, and I'm estimating I don't know them, were a mother around 45 and her mid-late teenage daughter. So I just left the pharmacy where this took place, and I'm riding this or in the car before I head out. So a very recent story. But I was waiting in line to pick up my prescription. The line was pretty long. It went all the way down the aisle, a few feet from the counter. I'm chilling in line, it's inching along, and about 10 minutes into waiting, this woman and her daughter came out of a different aisle and start browsing the one the line is in. They're talking about what they want to get, and suddenly the daughter goes, "Something smells like a grease trap to you?" I laugh and turn around and say, "Yeah, that tends to happen after 11 hours in the kitchen," in a casual joking tone. The mother makes a face and says, "Well, you smell awful. You could at least have the decency to go home and shower first." I didn't expect a stranger to get nasty with me, and after a long day I didn't have the grace for it, especially with over an hour of driving ahead of me. I also didn't feel like explaining to the woman that I had about 1.5 hour driving ahead, that I wasn't going home first, and to take this little detour would have meant 50 minutes of driving, 30 from work to home, 20 from home to pharmacy, instead of 15 from work to pharmacy. So I snapped back, "Well, maybe you could have the decency to mind your own business." She chastised me for being rude and stormed away, with her daughter saying she was going to tell the store I'm mistreating her. Nothing happened. 10 more minutes later and I had my meds, and now I'm here wondering if maybe I snapped a bit too hard. Am I the a-hole? Okay, so this person had a long day at work. They probably work in some sort of a kitchen. I think they said that here. They were not smelling too good. On their way home from work, they decided to pop in to the pharmacy. It's basically a question like, is smelling bad in public a kind of offense? Or not really, because I don't really think it is. Like, as someone who doesn't have like the best sense of smell in the world, like, I don't mind at all, but I can see how for someone with a better sense of smell, maybe it would be kind of annoying. It's not such a terrible thing that you should be like defensive about it. I don't think this person is the a-hole for like just smelling bad. Like, people smell bad all the time. And I just need to mention how American this post feels. Like 11 hours in the kitchen, driving to the pharmacy and driving home like 1.5 hours. Are you crazy? This is clearly American writing here. But let's see what the public has to say. Not the a-hole. You're right, they need to mind their business. I was raised not to point out anything someone can fix right then and there. So like, do let them know their fly is down, they got food in their teeth, etc. Don't tell them they need a shower because they probably already know and there's nothing they can do about it at the moment. Yeah, that's a good policy for life, I guess. Also, I would have been like, I might smell awful, but I'm still sweeter than you, rank attitude. Yeah, that's a good response. I agree with this person here. Am I the a-hole for asking my wife if we can figure out the breast milk situation? Oh my goodness. Here it goes. Hi all. Long time lurker, first time poster. My wife and I are hitting a roadblock and I'd love some outside input. My wife is breastfeeding our 5-month-old and I couldn't be more proud of her. She's been adamant about breastfeeding even before she was pregnant, but was anxious as to whether she would be able to supply enough. Thankfully, the opposite is what we're encountering at the moment, as my wife is producing more than our baby could ever hope to eat. I know how hard she's working to provide for our daughter, and I support her 100%. However, we live in an apartment with limited freezer space and it's filled with breast milk, making it impossible to manage meals for the rest of the family. We also have another child to feed. I recently suggested exploring different storage options as the situation has become unmanageable. Despite the breast milk storage hacks we've implemented, there is simply too much. The moment I brought up the topic, however, she lost it. She's accusing me of being ungrateful that she's able to provide so much for our daughter, and has been crying since. I tried to explain that I didn't mean anything like that, but she's refusing to have a discussion about it and hasn't spoken to me since. I completely understand that breastfeeding is important and I'm glad she's able to. I know hormones can make things extra emotional right now, but the storage situation is causing real stress for me. I want to find a solution that supports my wife's breastfeeding journey while making sure our whole family can eat comfortably. Did I say something wrong? Am I the a-hole? This situation is a bit tough, I'm not gonna lie. The wife produces a lot of breast milk and she wants to keep it in the fridge. And there is no space for the other family members' meals and it's becoming a problem. I think this person, the OP, has a point here. Like, if this is becoming such a problem that like other family members suffer from it, it's not really like the merit of the mother to provide as much breast milk as she possibly can. So I think like if there is not enough storage, you can like either get rid of the milk or like get more storage, like, I don't know, like maybe buy some of these portable fridges or whatever, but you can also sell breast milk, I guess. This person is not the a-hole, and there are a number of reasonable solutions to this problem that can be implemented. The wife is responding emotionally here because it's kind of the part of her body as well. So I guess it's better for everyone if she just stops storing all the breast milk in the fridge. That's just my opinion, but let's see what the public has to say again. Many women struggle with breastfeeding and breast milk production. Our son was in the NICU for the first 2 weeks on the planet. We were incredibly thankful for breast milk donation, which helped bridge the gap before my wife was able to successfully start breastfeeding. Have you considered donation? Yeah, that's one of the solutions here. Could really help out a newborn. OP answers here. I've broached the subject, but I think my wife has it stuck in her head that she just wants to produce anymore one day. And our daughter will have nothing to eat. Definitely something I think she's interested in once our daughter is at least mostly weaned off. Not the a-hole. I feel like this was a minefield for you. I just buy a mini freezer if you can, or just wait until your wife realizes it for herself. Yeah, that's something I suggested as well. So the public seems to agree. Am I the a-hole for kicking my son's girlfriend out of my house for being lazy and rude? I lived with my husband of 7 months, Roland, and my son Silas. My son has been seeing a girl named Louise for a little over a year. I only met her a handful of times. She grew up in a foster care and lived in special supervised accommodations for young people who have aged out of the system. She also received some kind of settlement totaling a little over $100,000, so she at least had a little money to her name. The day before Roland and I got married, my son tells me that Louise decided to leave where she lived because she felt she lacked privacy due to frequent visits from the building supervisors. She'd been looking for an apartment for months with no success, as she's unemployed and most landlords in my city require a proof of employment. She had already notified the folks at her transitory accommodations that she would be leaving, so she had nowhere to go once the deadline for her to leave arrived. He asked if she could come stay with us until she figured things out, which I agreed to, without much thought, as my month was occupied with all the last-minute wedding preparations. 10 days later, after the wedding, she moves in. We all agreed that this would be a temporary situation until Louise found her own place. We discussed what my house rules were. Treat everyone with respect and pick up after yourself. I also told Silas and Louise that if they hadn't found accommodation after 1 month, I would start charging them a bit for rent to cover the increased expense of having a new household member. For the first month she was with us, she did no chores and would leave dirty dishes in the sink. My husband and I called a family meeting where we discussed how we would like chores to be split. She rejected all but one of the chores on the list, cleaning the bathroom, which she rarely did, to the point where we just didn't bother asking her to do it anymore. Then for the disrespectful behavior, yelling, cursing and screaming at me when I would confront her about undesirable behaviors, complaining that we made too much noise when getting ready for work in the morning, etc. After an argument in November, I told my son that she needed to be out of my house by March 1st. She just stayed in my son's room all day, doing heaven knows what while he went to school and work. In mid-February, I reminded Silas that she was to be gone by March 1st. Then February 29th rolls in. The morning, as my husband was leaving for work, Louise screamed from my son's room, "OMG, why does he have to be so fucking loud?" When Silas came out of his room, I told him that she needed to leave. Things escalated and the cops got involved. She and my son are now gone. I reached out to my son so that we could talk, but it's been the silent treatment from him since. Am I the a-hole? Oh, that's some deep trenches we need to go through here. Okay, so the son's girlfriend, Louise, was in a crisis situation as she lost her temporary housing that she got after foster care, and she lived with her boyfriend's family. She was being kind of an asshole. She wasn't doing chores, she was being rude, and the mother, because of that, decided to kick her out. In a situation like this, we need to look first and foremost at like the privileges of everyone involved. So like the mother is 42, so like Gen X, she probably owns the house. Like it was a time where you could buy a house when she was young, so yeah, she has a family. She's like probably living a comfortable life, while the girlfriend Louise, like she was brought up in foster care. Now like she got kicked out of like some temporary accommodations. She can't really find an apartment because she's unemployed, and yeah, she has a lot of like deteriorating factors going for her. In this context, I think even despite her behavior, that kicking her out is not a good thing to do. Like, it's pretty a-hole thing to do. Not doing dishes and being rude is not an equivalent behavior to making someone virtually homeless, you know? Well, of course, I agree this type of behavior is not something desirable, especially like in your own home. I think like the course of action should be to try to minimize this sort of behavior, try to, you know, talk to this person and maybe have them go to therapy or something like this, because this clearly comes from some unresolved issues from the past, like she didn't have a good living situation. Yeah, I think this should have gone more that route, especially when you know that this person is your son's partner. So obviously you are going to be hurting your son as well. So in my opinion, this person is kind of an a-hole, but you can also see their side a little bit. Let's see what Reddit has to say. This person says, not the a-hole at all. She was completely out of line. Unfortunately, you may just have to deal with the silent treatment from your son till he comes around, and I would guess that he will come around at some point, living just the two of them. He will realize what a slob she is, and she will start to treat him the way she treated you. Trust me, he will come back. This is just like leveraging the privilege that the mother has, basically, because like if you have the privilege of like owning a house and dictating who is supposed to be in the house and who is not supposed to be in the house, you can justify much more like shitty behavior on your part, and have people still come back because they depend on you for like the housing situation, because they don't want to be homeless. Owning a house by itself is a huge privilege. So yeah, I think this person was kind of an a-hole. Okay guys, that was the episode. Thank you for watching, thank you for hanging out. Leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.